The problem isn't that people question the Ark Legacy project. Questioning is normal, healthy, and even. The real issue is how it was judged. Most reactions were based on a single assumption, that if a project shifts its commissioning date, something must be wrong. But that assumption comes from small project thinking, applied to a generational scale vision. When you view something built for decades through the lens of deadlines, speed, and short-term completion, you will almost always misread what's actually happening. And that's exactly what happened here. Before we talk about dates, timelines, or construction, we need to address the first and biggest misunderstanding. Because once you see this clearly, everything else about the Ark Legacy project starts to make sense. Most people are trained to think this way. In everyday life, delays usually mean poor planning, lack of resources, mismanagement, or unexpected failure. So when people heard the commissioning shifted, their minds filled in the blanks automatically. But here's what was missed. That logic only holds when you are dealing with ordinary projects. The Ark Legacy project is not ordinary. This is a world-class structure of a scale and complexity never attempted in this form before. A large span building without essential pillars. When something has no true precedent, you don't measure it by speed. You measure it by structural certainty. Large institutional builds don't move on urgency. They move on risk elimination. Speed is not the primary enemy. The enemy is irreversible error. When something is meant to stand for decades, the question isn't, how fast can we finish? The real question is, what must not go wrong? That difference changes everything. So in this context, a shift in timing isn't a red flag. It's often a signal that leadership is choosing long-term integrity over short-term optics. The commission wasn't reacting to chaos. It was removing future vulnerabilities. That's not delay. That's discipline. And once you understand that, you begin to see why judging this project by a calendar date misses the deeper point entirely. Because the second misunderstanding is even more subtle and even more costly. The second misunderstanding is quieter but deeper. Many people assume the date itself was the vision, that once a year was announced, everything else should bend to protect it. But in mature institutions, dates are tools, not anchors. Anchors don't move, tools do. When leaders adjust timelines, they're not abandoning vision, they're protecting it. This is where many observers misread the Ark Legacy project. They treated the date as sacred instead of understanding the mandate behind it. The Ark Legacy project was never about finishing within a duration. It was about building for generations. And when a project is meant to serve generations, leaders don't sacrifice precision just to say they arrived on time. The calendar is not the authority. The outcome is, and that's the difference between a launch and a legacy. This assumption is common in modern thinking. We live in a world where software ships overnight, startups pivot weekly, speed is celebrated as competence, but physical, institutional, generational projects operate under a different law. Scale increases coordination cost. Scale multiplies error impact. Scale raises the price of every mistake. The larger the vision, the more catastrophic even a small misstep becomes. That's why experienced institutions don't rush momentum. They slow down at critical points. They overbuild systems. They stress test assumptions. They sequence decisions carefully. Speed may feel impressive, but stability is what survives. The Ark Legacy project reflects that mindset, not urgency, not panic, but deliberate sequencing. Lastly, this is one of the most common framing errors. Some people view the Ark Legacy project as a single-purpose religious structure and judge it accordingly. But that category is too small. Another major misunderstanding is the why. Many thought this was just a church building. Some even felt it was a waste of resources. But that view ignores the historical reality of what this institution does for its environment. Look at the history of OTA. Before Living Faith came to town, there were industries, yes, but Ota remained largely unknown and economically quiet. It was the original Living Faith tabernacle that brought Ota into the global limelight. The Ark Legacy project is an extension of that same transformative power. It is far beyond a hall for a large congregation. It is a massive economic catalyst. The community as the beneficiary. Could anyone imagine what this project has already contributed to the community? Job creation. Thousands of hands have found work. Business growth. Local domestic businesses have seen a massive boost. Skill acquisition. Perhaps most importantly, many have learned specialized skills on this site that will feed their families for a lifetime. After completion, the economic benefits will only multiply. But building a legacy of this magnitude requires a different kind of discipline. Judging such a project purely by its opening date misses its secondary and tertiary impact entirely. Once you remove these misunderstandings, a different picture emerges. This wasn't a pause. It was consolidation. It wasn't uncertainty. It was alignment. It wasn't hesitation. It was de-risking. Quiet work was being done, the kind that doesn't make headlines, but prevents future failure. The most dangerous problems in large projects are not the ones you see early. They're the ones you inherit later. This phase was about refusing to pass hidden weaknesses to the next generation. That's not delay. That's stewardship. This is where the Ark Legacy project stops being just a construction story. It becomes a lesson in how lasting visions move. Whether it's a nation, an institution, a business, or a personal calling. Anything designed to outlive its founder must value process over pressure. Quick wins impress crowds. Sound foundations protect futures. The tragedy is not moving slowly. The tragedy is building something large on something weak. So when people ask, why wasn't it commissioned earlier? They're asking the wrong question. The better question is, what was being protected by waiting? Because if you're building something meant to last beyond applause, beyond trends, beyond your own lifetime, speed is optional, integrity is not. If you value this kind of thinking, where vision, discipline, and long-term strategy intersect, subscribe to Strategy Syndicate. Here we don't react to headlines. We interpret them.